Good day, everyone. I'm coming before you tonight, asking for those who do consider others and know how to pray to lift up my family tonight. Lost my uh, great niece on yesterday, died unexpectedly. It's about, I think she's about 3 months. Um, Parents are devastated, but I was studying the word last night, and it was actually talking about the birth of a baby. In this case, it was John the Baptist. So now I'm in the book of Luke. Um, but with everything going on, it just reminded me of considering others. You know, a lot of times things don't really hit home for us unless we um, experience something. You know, death happens every day. Everybody, it's a part of life. Death is a part of life. But it really doesn't hit us until it hits someone like in our immediate family or close to us. And it just made me think about, considering others. Like I said, people die every day. Even as I'm videoing, people are dying. So it's just to think about others, thinking about what others go through. Uh, my mind has just been on my niece. I can't even imagine what it's like to uh, lose a child, especially unexpectedly. Um, my dad passed away. He was fighting cancer. I didn't know, when he would pass away. You know how the doctors give you a time, but no one knows the day, nor the hour. I mean, they can project, they can forecast, whatever, but um, I just think about even with the end of the world, no one knows the day, nor the hour, nor the time. No one knows when Jesus is coming back. That's why we have to always be ready. Um, I've just been sounding the alarm even before this, even before my dad passed away, before this happened with my great niece. Just many people are losing loved ones. I think the hardest ones are those that end in a tragic way. I read recently about a principal his wife and child were killed in an accident. Uh, those types of things, it's like no one can prepare for that, but we have to rest in the Lord, and it is no, um, it's, I'm so sorry. And it's okay to cry, and we hurt, we have feelings. So in the midst of it all, I think about people who no longer have the ability to walk on their own or to feed themselves. A lot of times we just go on with our life, and people are dealing with hard situations. They're dealing with life issues, and again, we don't really sympathize or empathize because we're going on with our life. But I've always, you know, thought about others, checked on others, prayed for others in the time of a life changing event. Even to this day, I always check on one of the sisters that we used to go to the same church. Her husband had a stroke years ago, and he is confined to a wheelchair and has to go on dialysis. So that's a life changing experience. We get to go on doing our things, but her partner now, her husband, they can't do the things they used to do. And that's why it annoys me when I hear people say, you know, I will always be there for you. I'll never let you down. No, even at our best, we are going to fail people. We have limitations, but God does not. And that's why I keep telling people the best inheritance you can ever leave your child is a spiritual inheritance, because when you are not there, they will know where to go. We can't be everywhere. Only God is all knowing, all seeing, and omnipresent. Okay, omnipotent, omniscient. Only God, not us. But we keep living our lives as if we are going to always be here for each other. No, we are on loan to each other. We are on loan. We're only here, man born of a woman. I keep saying that. That's what the Word of God says. His troubles are many, his days are few. Okay, so, our life is as a vapor. And that's why it's so important to make sure we are ready to meet God, our Father, our Creator, our Maker. And stop living this life haphazardly, but redeeming the time, because the days are evil. We don't know. And that's why it's always so important, too, to have those conversations. No one likes to have that talk, but you must have that conversation, if that time ever comes. This is where everything is. This is what needs to be done. There was a lady that took my finance class at church, passed away. And I don't know if her children knew where she kept her policy or whatever, but I just want to encourage you guys, admonish you guys to have that talk with your families. No one likes to have that talk, but it's part of life. Either we're going to be, if you are a child of God, you're going to either be raptured, you're going to go up with Jesus, or you are going to leave the face of the earth before that time. So one way or the other, we are going to check out of here. But unfortunately, so many people, and even believers, born again believers, live their lives as if we're going to stay on this earth. No, this earth is going to be burned with fire. Heaven and earth will pass away, but the word of God is what's going to last forever. That's what's going to stand. We just have to be ready at all times. We don't know. But I just wanted to share that with you guys. But I'm going to talk to you tonight about uh, John the Baptist and Jesus in his youth. So I'm sure you guys probably remember the story about Zacharias. That's John's daddy, right? He was the father of John the Baptist. I'm going to read from starting with the 57th verse, but before, and I'm in chapter 1. I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over the place right now. Uh, Guys, I'm so sorry. I don't know why this is always an ongoing thing where I'm yawning. But anyway, chapter 1 in the book of Luke. So we already know how Zacharias was told that, Elizabeth was going to have a child. Elizabeth was barren, and John was like, wow, at this age. But anyway, you guys can read the story. But what I want to pick up with verse 57, so you guys can see how, when it comes to names, back then, sometimes people name their children after, if you have a son, you name, the son is a junior or the third or the fourth. You know how people name their children after themselves, after a mother or something like that. But in this case, the name was given to Zacharias of what the child should be named. So that's what I'm focusing on tonight. And a lot of times people want to follow traditions, or, again, going back to parents who, let's say, just because your parents are in a certain profession, that doesn't mean you have to be in that profession. Or just because your parents have a certain business, that doesn't mean that's the business you're going to be in. But that's the way the world operates. It's like, okay, the name, the Rockefellers, The big names, people leave a legacy. Again, it's like, okay, this world's going to be burned up, but we're talking about leaving a legacy. A legacy for what? The world's going to be burned up. But this is how we think as human beings. It's like we're trying to make a name for ourselves. We're trying to be successful in this life. Only what we do for Christ is going to last. Now, I'm not knocking if that's what you want to do, but it's like we make those things the priority. We make our agendas the priority. That's more important to us than being about our Father's business. So that's what I want to focus on tonight, and you'll see when I get to the end how this all ties in. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and read, starting at verse 57, the book of Luke, chapter 1. My goodness. So now Elizabeth's full time came that she should be delivered, and she brought forth a son. And her neighbors and her cousins heard how the Lord had showed great mercy upon her, and they rejoiced with her. And it came to pass that on the 8th day they came to circumcise the child. Okay, that was the custom. And they called him Zacharias, after the name of his father. And his mother answered and said, Not so, but he shall be called John. And then they said unto her, There is none of your kindred that is called by this name. See, people always imposing themselves upon others. Like, if this woman said that's what she wants the child to be named, who are you to question or say no one in your family is named John? But this is how we do as people. We impose our beliefs on others and try to get people to conform to what we want them to. But she said, no, not so, in the 60th verse. But his name shall be called John. And then in the 62nd verse, and they made signs to his father how he would have him called. So they're like, well, we're not listening to you. So they went to Zacharias. Now remember, Zacharias, he was muted at that time. I just go back and read prior to these, and you'll see why they had to make signs to Zacharias. So anyway, they made signs to his father how he would have him called. And he asked for a writing table and wrote, saying, His name is John. And they marveled all. And at that time, 64th verse, his mouth was opened immediately, and his tongue loosed, and he spake and praised God. And fear came on all that dwelt round about them, and all these things were noised abroad throughout the hill country of Judea. And all they that heard them laid them up in their hearts, saying, What manner of child shall this be? And the hand of the Lord was with him. So this was John the Baptist, the birth of John the Baptist. All right. Now moving on. In the next chapter, the second chapter, it talks about the birth of Jesus. Okay. And I'm like, wow, it's not amazing, but I'm like, okay, wow, we're talking about the birth of babies now and their purposes. And again, who was to know, my niece is devastated, and she's like, she's trying to understand why would God take me. And it's like, this is, I haven't talked with her, but that's what my sister was sharing with me. And, we just don't have control over those things. But I will say, when my sister did call me and let me know, what was going on, at that time, I just began praying and taking authority. And the baby did come back to life again, but then was lost again. So, and it's nothing wrong with people say don't question God. Right now, I don't understand it, but God knows best. I'm not sure what's the purpose, but a lot of things we don't know. We don't know why someone leaves so soon, or is a newborn. But in all honesty, it's like, Lord, in this world, the baby's in a better place. I know people may not agree with that, but I've always said, people who have died and gone on to be with God, they're in a better place than being here on this earth, especially in these perilous times. That's just the way I feel. That may not be other people's sentiments, but like I said, to be to be with Christ, I mean, stay. It's like we fight to stay here for what? All of this evilness and everything that's going on. Like Paul said, it's better for him to be with Christ, but it's better for him to be on earth for the ministry and helping others. So I get that, but anyway, I'll move on because I don't think people really understand what I mean when I say those type of things are. Anyway, teach his own, but like I said, to be with Christ is better than to be on this earth. So in the second chapter of Luke, it says in the 41st verse, now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem after the custom of the feast. And when they had fulfilled the days as they returned, the child Jesus tarried behind in Jerusalem, and Joseph and his mother knew not of it. So, of course, my mind is thinking modern day, like, okay, who would leave their child? He was 12 years old, so where was he? But anyway, that's just my mind rambling on. 44th verse, but they, supposing him to have been in a company and went a day's journey, and they sought him among their kinsfolk and acquaintance. They sought him, and they found him not. They turned back again to Jerusalem, seeking him. So I'm like, wow. So they were traveling on for a day's journey, and like, where's Jesus? So they turned around and went back seeking him. In the 46th verse, it says, and it came to pass that after 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions. And it's like, wow, 3 days. It was 3 days before they found him. You hear about a lot of kids. It's like, okay, but of course, Jesus was God and man. But it's like, who leaves their child for 3 days? That's just where my mind was, okay? And then 47th verse, it says, and all that heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers. And when they saw him, they were amazed. And his mother said unto him, Son, why have you dealt with us in this way? Behold, your father and I have sought you sorrowing. And here's what Jesus answered. He said unto them, how is it that you sought me? Do you not know that I must be about my Father's business? Now, we would think in this day and time that, wow, Jesus was a pretty sassy kid or, disrespectful. But at this age, see, Jesus knew what his purpose was. And that's why he answered them in this way. Well, why are you looking for me? Don't you know that I'm about my Father's business? It was already told you you were going to give birth to the Son of God and what he was come to do. So Jesus came and he had his mindset of I'm about my Father's business. But they understood not the saying which he spoke. But after that, and I'm going to come back to that, the 31st verse, and he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was subject unto them. But his mother kept all these sayings in her heart. So he went on with them, but he knew what he came to do. And this is, we have to have that same mindset to be in place, to be about our Father's business, to be about that purpose. So that's all I wanted to share with you all tonight. I know this is probably going to go over a lot of people's heads, and it's probably not going to make sense. But if you can just see what's going on in the 49th verse, Jesus said, well, why would you seek me? Do you not know that I am about my Father's business? And I wanted to bring that out because so many times we as parents, we get in the way of what God put children, not just children, like your child may have been put on earth to do something different, but you're trying to drive that child to be an athlete. You're trying to drive that child to be the first mayor or a president or a doctor or a lawyer or a millionaire. You know, you're trying to drive your child to do something you want your child to do. But pray when, you know, a lot of times people say they christening their children. They, you know how you go through the motions. We dedicate our child to God. We're saying that, but you haven't. You're just dedicating in words, but you haven't released that child. Like Hannah, I think it was Hannah who was crying. She gave, I think was Samuel her son, but you guys remember, I think Samuel was her son. She dedicated her child to the Lord, and he stayed in the house of the Lord, and was raised in the house of the Lord. She truly dedicated. But what we call dedication, baby dedication and christening, how, and then a lot of people, you christening and doing baby dedications, and you haven't even dedicated yourself to the Lord. I know I probably stepped on a lot of toes just right now by saying that. But listen, we got to get all of this formality and traditions and just doing things, just going through the motions, and be sincere and know um, our purpose in life. That's basically all I want to share. And while I'm mentioning that, um, I want you guys to listen to my girl Dana Pierce, her podcast. She talks about living with intention. And Dana, forgive me if I said the wrong title, but anyway, it's all about living with purpose. Okay, so just remember Dana Pierce, her podcast. But I hope you guys really understand um, what what life really is all about and what we should be striving for. We should be striving to please God. He should be our priority. And we just got to get away from the traditions and philosophy of men, because it makes God's word of none effect, and it just it keeps us from being all we need to be and what God put us on this earth to do. All right, I know I kind of rambled on, and I hope this didn't confuse anybody, but love you guys, and till next time, seek the Lord while he may be found if you have not made him first in your life. Love you guys.